or college you went to, you're not fit to work here.
Yeah. So one question I have for you, especially as an educator. So what main trait would you say it takes to be a leader, especially leading kids and all that?
You always got to be open and listening to everything. Yep. I listen to kids. Yep. I listen to anyone who's younger than me, because if they're saying something that I don't understand, I'm going to listen to see if I can make sense of it. To be a great leader, you can't just become a leader today and then 10 years pass and you're not consistently learning. For you, most times when you're a leader, you're usually like the older one in your group of people. But you also have to learn the new things that are coming. Definitely. Because if you're going to be a leader, you got to be a leader for everyone. So if you're going to be a good leader, you have to, I think it's always said, you got to be a good follower. You got to be able to listen to those who are not in as high as a power that you're in. So what I mean by that is a lot of people will look up to you, and the some people that look up to you, you still have to learn from them. Because if you're at this top, you're at the top of everything. The only way to be that leader still at the top is that you have to now learn from below.
Definitely.
You have to learn.
Like we were talking about, in the last episode, right? Most of these professional athletes, they look elsewhere to get motivation, right? So like we were saying, most of the professional athletes, they get some of the moves like Kyrie Irving. Yeah. Right? Some of the moves that he's doing in the NBA right now, those moves have always been done in the street ball level, and one. You see guys doing those moves years before Kyrie Irving came into the league, right? So his inspiration was from the street, right? Then he came to the NBA as a professional and became was like 4 or 5 time All-Star or whatever the number is. Is that you always have to learn from the people ahead and also from the people behind you, and then that's what will bring you to the top of the podium as a successful leader, entrepreneur, business owner, whatever it may be.
Yeah, man. That's that essentially that humility. I agree. You got to have that humility, like you said. I think to being a great follower to me is that's a humble thing to do. And yeah, man, that's for me. I've always prided myself, like when I've had other business ventures, and I had say somebody I was looking up to. Like I actually took pride in being coachable. You know what I mean?
That's right. That's very key.
I was okay with the criticism. I was okay with if they're telling me, and obviously this is someone that I look up to and I respect, and I'm like, yes, like what they tell me, I'm gonna run with it. Yeah, man, being coachable and having that humility, and I think that's what helped propel me to being a good leader in some of the roles that I was in, right? Sure. So no, that's amazing, man. Like where are we at? So we're pushing about an hour. Yeah, for sure. So we'll get close to wrapping it up. So with that in mind, man, because obviously we wanted to talk about obviously Toronto's like what's happening right now. For our audience, Toronto, because we're having a lot of strikes lately. Yeah. So what's your take on it, man? Like as far as, do you think the strikes are for a good reason, and also to
the pros and cons?
What are the pros and cons? But like, if you could put if the Toronto School Board called you and said, "Hey, man, help us be better," what would you change about it?
And also, apart beyond that question, and also they're pretty much moving towards online education. Yeah. And also, how do you think that would affect the students moving forward? Yeah.
Well, so the first part is what we could change is we got to see what are the reasons why a lot of the teachers or even just public servants are not happy, and it's because a lot of their educational systems are being cut. There's projected classroom sizes that are going up, and they don't feel that the person in charge right now understands what they're going through, because the person that's in charge they went to private school, but he's making decisions for a public sector. So what things can be done? So you got to think about pay. If they want a pay increase, you got to think about if there's going to be a pay increase, what additional tasks do they need to do? Okay. That's kind of how negotiation works. If I'm going to give you a pay increase, what more do you have to do? Why do you deserve this pay increase? Right? So the other part is the increase of classroom sizes is not because there's more students coming in. They're saying, well, for us to even give you like a pay increase, we got to cut some of the teachers because there's just no way that this education sector is worth what it's bringing in. So it's a business is what the government really is. So they're saying, if I'm going to increase your pay, what is your return that you're bringing us? So that's really what it comes down to. So if I would say, if you're going to be negotiating, I think the teachers are doing this right. They're doing strikes to show, hey, look, if we're not here, this is the disruption that happens.
Yes.
Man, yes.
This is what happens, right? So we're not here. There's no school. Parents have to stay home.
Yes.
Okay? If parents have to stay home, then they have to get pulled out. So they're doing the right thing to show. They're just showing, hey, look, if we don't go now you got to pay even more money.
Yes.
Yep.
Because now when these parents have to take sick leaves
The
and stuff,
government pays
there depends on if the parents work for a private corporation, they're gonna have to be taking a lot of sick leave. The private corporations are covering for that. If the private corporations that cover so much, they have insurances companies, because then the private corporations are filing an insurance claim to cover this. If those same parents work for the public sector, well, now they have to stay home. The government has to still pay them for sick, and now pay someone else if they're gonna be gone for an extended period of time. Now, like after March break, there's 2 weeks of no school.
That's right.
And I don't think it's because of the strike. I think it's because to do with the virus. But let's just say if it was because of the strike. Regardless, those parents now have to stay home. Who's going to cover that? Right? You can't have that worker not there for 2 weeks. One day, maybe you can get away with it. For 2 weeks now, the government has to fund that. So now the teachers have some weight to say, if we continue to have strikes, you're actually going to have to pay more.
Yes.
So you might as well pay us what we think we're worth, well, what we know we're worth, and call it a day.
Yeah.
I agree.
And
I
that's
think
where
teachers are underpaid, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Big time, especially in the states where I'm from. Yeah, man. I think I think a lot of public servants are underpaid. I think police officers. I think teachers at public schools. I don't understand why these wages aren't more competitive, man.
Well,
Especially for the public service.
There's a few reasons why. Like if you look at places like France, where their tax rate is very high, much higher than Canada, but then they don't have to pay for a lot of things. Like when they go to the doctors and like dental work and all that stuff, they don't pay for. But now the new person that's come in is starting to cut these things out. Where now, to lower the tax rate, you pay for stuff out of pocket. Because it's like he's saying like, well, the government can't keep funding this, right? So when you have public service like police officers, who should be the number one paid, firefighters should be number one paid, you're directly training to go into danger. You should be number one paid. Well, how you think about now the business structure? How are they funded? They're funded through taxpayers.
Taxation. Yeah.
So how do we pay them more? We pay more taxes. Oh, I don't want to pay more taxes. Okay, you don't want to pay more taxes. Okay, you don't want to pay more taxes. Okay, well, what else can we do? Well, maybe we can ask for help from private corporations. Private corporations are not eligible to pay more than what their taxes are. So let's raise the taxes on private corporations. You raise the taxes on private corporations, that also means now they're going to lay people off to pay these taxes.
Or they're going to go to other countries.
Or they'll go to other countries. So now you're in this loop. So as much as we say we want to pay them more, as the average like Canadian civilian who pays taxes, you now have to pay more taxes. If you want to advocate,
anyway, you can't afford to pay more taxes. So
then what people start to do is that they look at the government and then they'll say, okay, well, we don't want to pay more taxes and you don't want to pay them more. What is the government now doing with their money? Now they start to watch things like, what is the government doing with their money? Oh, they put $100 million, or was it $10 million, or whatever the amount was, into like horse racing. Well, why did you spend that money there? Okay, oh, what? I don't like these pipelines. How much is it going to cost? Do we need this stuff? So once they realize now that the government can't pay them more unless they tax more, we start looking at the way they spend their money. And I think that's probably the best way to do it, is for the people to police the government and say, how much are you spending? Where are you spending it? Now, whoever now gets into power knows that if the money, let's just say the money isn't being spent correctly, the new person that comes in will have to spend it correctly, or else they're going to get pressure from the people, and to make it most efficient as possible. But let's just say 100% the government is spending the money it should be, and they're 100% efficient. Well, the only way to pay the public workers more is to put on higher taxes.
Wow,
that's the only way. So that's kind of the loop that they're in. I'm not gonna say here and say 100% they don't want to pay the public workers more money, but they're going to be also say, if you want lower taxes, we cannot pay them higher.
For sure.
Man, that's crazy.
If everything is 100% efficient, but that's the only thing now we can attack is the efficiency of how they're spending their money.
Right.
And also it will start, let's say the teachers get the raise, then the other public workers, they will also think that they're also deserving of raises.
It's not just teachers that are going on strike. It's literally like the majority of the public sector just are going on strike.
Wow.
Not just teachers. There's custodial staff that went on. The first strike that people didn't realize that happened, I believe, in September, wasn't even teachers. It was the custodial staff.
Wow, I didn't know that.
It wasn't teachers.
Why isn't anyone really talking about that? Is it because they're not as important as these teachers?
Just not as many as the teachers. It comes down to a numbers thing.
True.
So when you saw that, if you were ever watching like these videos on Instagram and kids are like throwing stuff in the garbage and the schools are dirty, that's because the custodial staff went on strike. They still ran the schools. The schools became so unsanitary that they couldn't run the schools anymore.
Wow.
Man,
That's what happened.
Even some of the schools, man, like the custodial staff, they deserve more than they actually getting paid, because we all know kids are messy as hell. You know, and these guys, they're always getting disrespected. So they need to get paid. I wouldn't say as much as the teachers, but they should get paid more for what they're doing, keeping schools safe, clean, especially with this virus and everything that's going around. The school themselves need to be a very healthy place for these kids to be in.
Yeah,
you know?
I agree.
100%, man. That's dude. Like the way you broke that down, man, was so enlightening, man. Because you're right. It's a constant like battle, man, between. Yeah, we want to pay them more, but it is a tug of war, a constant tug of war between the public and the private sector. Obviously, private sector, we have to pay taxes, but he's right. I don't want to pay more taxes. But then obviously me living in Canada now compared to Texas is way lower taxation. But the other side of it is the beauty, like why you don't hear me complaining too much about it, which don't get me wrong, I think we do pay a lot of taxes here. But also the fact that I don't have to worry about healthcare, man.
Exactly.
I'm okay with that.
You gotta pick and choose with what you want.
Yeah, man.
That's what happens.
Definitely, man. Definitely. And then, yeah, man, to kind of like piggyback on that. So, like our other, question, we had a B and a C part. So let's just say you could put your 2 cents on the educational system. Let's just say from high school. That way, we'll dial in. Like if you could change something about the high schoolers, what is it called? Like their curriculum?
Curriculum, yeah.
Like what would you do different? Or what I'm saying, what stamp would you put on it if you had that power?
I would for sure introduce how to do taxes, how to do home maintenance, how to be an adult, how to be independent. What is leasing? What is financing? What, like when you're gonna do a car, what's the difference between the two? How do you know which mortgage rate is better than the others? I'd also show them how to plan days out. So for me, I think this is a part that it's really hard to teach is how to do time management correctly. So what I do is every 24 hours for me, I break that actually down to 2 days. Every 12 hours a day for me. So that makes sure that I get stuff done on time. So if a teacher told me an assignment's due in 4 days from now, for me, that's like 8 days, because I can. Every 12 hours is a day that passed. So sometimes at 12 a.m. I'll send an email to someone. Noon comes and at 6 p.m. and I check, I'm like, how come they didn't send me back an email yet? I'm like, okay, well in real time it hasn't been a full day yet. But in my time, if you sent me an email by 12 a.m. by 6 the latest, I'm getting back to you. That's just kind of how I break it down. So one thing I would do is how to teach time management. So you're giving these students all this work to do, but not really showing them like in order how to do it. If you got math tests on Monday and a science test on Friday, you have students studying for the science test first. Okay, that's like the first thing of what you can do. Another thing you can do is figure out what they want to do aside from school. School is a blanket, and I think the government's doing it very well, where they're teaching all the kids the same thing to put them on an equal playing field. Okay, some of these subjects don't resonate with students. All the subjects resonate with all the students. What the school can do is give the students resources, even like free YouTube videos, to figure out what they want to do. Now, mind you, that's what the 40 hours are for. I don't know if you know about that, but we have 40 hours of community service.
Yeah, I learned about it.
And that's what it's for. It's to figure out what you want to do. And within 40 hours, over the 4 years you have to complete them, you're supposed to dibble and dabble into different industries, to volunteer, to be like, do I like firefighting? You go there, I think it's cool, and you go there and you realize you're on the scene and you've seen the first dead body. I don't like dead bodies. No, I don't think I should be doing that.
Right.
Let's turn. Should I go to finance and you realize you got to sit at a desk for 9 hours a day? I don't like that. Travel and tourism and you realize you're not home often. I don't like that as much. So within 30 hours, you can figure out what you kind of want.
Or at least what you don't want.
What you don't want. And I think,
like, worst case, right?
Yeah, and I think what the school system does and what they can do better is they're kind of telling you to do these 40 hours, but I think, and if they're not doing it, they should give different like places to do it instead of you going out to find it yourself.
Even myself, when I was doing my 40 hours, I just went to one place. So I remember when I was doing my 40 hours of community service, I went to my elementary school. So my elementary school teacher, he was a grade 2 math teacher. So I pretty much stayed with him, helped him grade some of these kids' tests, and also after school, he was a basketball coach. Yeah. So after that, after I finished grading his tests, we went to basketball court and pretty much did that. Yeah. Right. But if we were instructed properly on how to really use these hours effectively, I think most kids would be on a better path.
Yeah, right? And the way school works is you don't know what you want to do. Yes. Like so instance, they're telling you got to do these subjects. This is your schedule to do these subjects. You're never in control of your schedule at any point in time. It's already made for you. Right. When you get to university, the biggest trouble I had was I had to do math, but then you can do 3 different times throughout the day. I'm just like, well, what time do I choose? I can do it in the morning, evening, or afternoon. But you're never given the flexibility to choose what you want to do during life. So by the time you get to 18, your teacher or the education system has already told you what to do. This is your schedule. So when you get to 18, you don't know what you want to do. You don't know how to do what you want to do because you've been told your whole time. So if that 40 hours where it comes back in is, you know what, here are 3 companies you can choose. You can start here to figure out what you want to do and when you want to do it. Give them that starting point. But if you tell them, here's your semester, here are your classes, you chose math, your math is second semester, your English is first semester, come to this class at this time, we're making it that much easier for you.